Hey everyone, welcome back to TechBit Academy. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel.
Welcome back to The Explainer. If you're the kind of person who likes to, cut through the noise and really understand the invisible forces shaping our digital and physical world, well, you are absolutely in the right place. Today, we're demystifying two of the most heavily used, but honestly, most frequently misunderstood terms in modern design, UI and UX. Okay, let's dive right into this. What do a ketchup bottle, a crowded airport terminal, and a fatal plane crash have in common? I know, right? It sounds like the setup to a really strange riddle, but it's actually the core of our journey today. We're going to see how design principles scale all the way from mundane items sitting in your fridge to massive logistical systems and eventually to literal life-or-death stakes. So to make sense of how these vastly different things connect, we really need to nail down our terms first. UI, or user interface, specifically the graphical user interface, is basically what you see. It's the screen, the graphic elements, the colors, the platform itself. UX, or user experience, on the other hand, is largely invisible. It's the deep study of users, their behavior, and how they actually navigate their environment. Think of it this way. If UI is the shiny paint and the steering wheel of a car, UX is how that car actually feels when you're driving it down a winding road. And it is absolutely crucial to get this. UX is not just about making things look pretty. It's not about a designer simply guessing what you might want. No, it's a rigorous, scientific practice deeply rooted in psychology. Real UX relies on hard data, it's built on experiments, intensive testing, user questionnaires, the whole shebang. It's an empirical study of how people genuinely use and experience things in the real world, rather than how someone hopes they'll use them in a perfect vacuum. Now, what's really interesting here is that focusing purely on the screen forces us to ask a much bigger question. What is happening outside of it? See, a truly great user experience takes the entire environment into account. What is the user actually doing while they're trying to interact with an interface? Are they sitting quietly in a perfectly lit office, or are they rushing through a noisy, chaotic, and totally stressful public space? Let's make this concrete. Picture a traveler at an airport check-in kiosk. This single micro interaction is a make or break moment where UI and UX have to work flawlessly together. The UI is just the digital buttons he's pressing and the layout of the text, but the UX encompasses his physical ability to quickly print a boarding pass while, juggling a passport and bags, probably stressing out about making his flight, all while feeling the glare of impatient travelers waiting in line right behind him. But wait, let's zoom out from that single kiosk for a second. Contrast that isolated digital moment with a macro-level view of the entire airport. Believe it or not, this is also UX. At this massive scale, the user experience dictates the flow of human behavior through incredibly complex spaces. From the moment you walk through those sliding doors, how do you intuitively know where the check-in desk is? Where are the bathrooms? How do you find your gate? That invisible architecture guiding thousands of stressed-out travelers safely and efficiently to their flights, that is macro-level user experience design at work. The reality of our modern world is that we interact with these complex, computer-harnessed systems minute by minute. They have almost entirely replaced the old manual ways of doing things. And because our daily lives are just completely wrapped up in them, the ultimate goal of both UX and UI is constant, never-ending improvement. We're always trying to refine that human-computer interaction to make it as seamless and helpful as possible. And honestly, nothing brilliantly illustrates this evolution quite like ketchup. Seriously. Think about the classic glass Heinz bottle versus the modern plastic squeeze bottle. Designing the product meant creating a recognizable glass container that securely holds ketchup. But designing the experience? That meant realizing users were getting incredibly frustrated trying to smack the bottom of the glass just to get the ketchup out. Flipping the bottle upside down and making it squeezable, that shifted the entire focus from the object itself to making the human interaction with it actually efficient and enjoyable. Okay, we've had some fun talking about ketchup and airports, but I want to radically shift gears here. The stakes of design go far, far beyond everyday convenience. Take the Long Easy aircraft, for example. It's an experimental plane, very similar to the one flown by the famous musician John Denver. And this brings us to the most critical and frankly sobering aspect of our explainer today. Back in October of 1997, John Denver was flying an aircraft just like this one when it tragically crashed. The investigation that followed revealed a truly shocking design flaw. The fuel selector handle, which a pilot uses to switch gas between the left and right tanks, should ideally be located right between the pilot's legs for quick, intuitive access. But The builder of Denver's specific plane installed it behind the pilot's left shoulder. To switch fuel tanks mid-flight, Denver actually had to take off his shoulder harness, physically turn his body around, and reach backward. And in doing so, that awkward twisting motion likely caused him to accidentally apply pressure to the right rudder with his foot. That sudden, unintentional rudder input resulted in a fatal loss of control of the aircraft. It is a heartbreaking aviation tragedy, but it firmly anchors a harsh reality we absolutely cannot ignore. Bad UX and UI can literally be deadly. When we talk about user interfaces, we aren't just complaining about clunky websites or annoying apps that are hard to navigate. A single, poorly placed UI element inside a critical, complex system can lead to absolute catastrophe. Let's move to and see how this builds. Because with stakes that range from mildly annoying to literally life-threatening, it obviously takes an army of dedicated professionals to get this right. So who exactly is responsible for preventing these kinds of systemic failures? Who actually practices UX and UI out in the real world? Well, it's a field of deep specialization for sure, but it also requires massive adaptability. We often talk about this concept of the UX chameleon. A designer has to be able to adapt their colors, so to speak, across entirely different phases of a product's lifecycle, from early planning and brainstorming right through to scoping, designing, building, and finally, measuring the results. While a UX specialist might zoom in and totally geek out on just one of those phases, the discipline as a whole requires incredible flexibility to understand the full journey. And because of this need for both those big-picture chameleons and the deep-dive specialists, UX and UI is a massive, rapidly exploding field. The sheer density of these roles is staggering. You've got visual designers, information architects, UX researchers, interactive architects, product managers, creative directors. The list just goes on and on. It really proves the incredible volume of brainpower and distinct expertise it takes to make our interactions with complex systems feel simple, intuitive, and safe. But here is the real secret sauce to all of this. User experience is a continuous discipline. It's an ongoing process. It is literally never finished. And more importantly, good design isn't just restricted to the people holding those specific fancy job titles we just talked about. Anyone can be a part of this methodology. Whether you're a software developer, a copywriter, a project manager, or even a customer service rep, you share the exact same goal, improving the system in any way possible. So the crucial point is perfectly captured by a great quote from our source material. A true UX/UI designer is an ambassador of process. They don't just design a pretty screen and walk away. No, they champion a completely different way of thinking. They constantly advocate for the user. They insist on testing assumptions, and they understand that even the smallest, most incremental changes can have a massive, outsized impact on human lives. Which brings us to our final thought for today. The world around you, both digital and physical, has been intentionally designed. Sometimes it's brilliant, and sometimes, as we've seen, it can be fatal. Knowing that even the tiniest tweaks to an interface or a physical environment can profoundly change human behavior, how will you look at the invisible architecture of your daily life differently from now on? Next time you open a door or click a button on a screen or, hey, even squeeze a bottle of ketchup, ask yourself, what is this experience actually trying to tell me? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep learning.